Hello, everyone. A very warm good afternoon to everyone. Let me just type a virtual good afternoon as well. So I'm sure that everybody is doing good, fine enough, and I'm looking at a couple of new names as well. And I welcome every one of you on today's webinar. And I hope that the topic which we have decided to have it today will enhance your knowledge, and the topic will be understood to all of you. I can sense that a couple of you would be scholars, a couple of you would be teachers as well. So I'm sure that this particular research aspect of today's session is of importance for majority of you, right? So let me take you to today's session. We'll be talking about developing a research design. All right. And before I move ahead, myself, Dr. Renu Mishra, and I'm associated with the research graduate at one of their expert resource person. Also, I am a management educationist. I'm located in Dubai, and I am taking management modules here to postgraduate and doctoral students. Okay, so let us move ahead. Basically, before I jump to the topic itself, let me just brief you about research graduate. See, the research graduate is established as a consulting company. Basically, I should say that research consulting company, wherein we are there in the market to help you out, right? Like all the scholars, ask. Related to their concerns, like if you are getting confused at what should I write about, how should I go about it, and if anybody is getting stuck at statistical analysis or proofreading, editing. So along with these webinars, the research graduate is delivering all these services as well, because I'm sure that writing a research paper um, can give couple of issues at different stages to many of us, and many time what happen is that all of us, we don't even understand what to write about. Being a scholar, being a PhD scholar, it is mandatory for us to write or fulfill the number of papers to be written as per the university guidelines. However, as an academician also, in order to get the requisite promotions and the requisite career growth, we need to write the number of papers. Okay, and for that, it's very important that we write good quality paper. So in that aspect, research graduate is always there to help you out. Okay, so if you want to get in touch with research graduate, the information given on your screen is about the email ID you can approach, or you can get through with the WhatsApp number, and you can browse through the website as well. Okay, now let me take you to the webinar structure. We'll be discussing about 90 minutes or so, the presentation, and then we'll be followed by the question and answer session. And when it comes to the PPTs of the session, which I'll be sharing with you all, will also be shared with you on your registered email ID, and the recording of the session too. So do not worry that about the PPTs of the session and the recording as well. Okay, so both of them, along with the certificate of your presence that you have attended such webinar, would be given to you. Okay, so make sure that you give the right email ID so that you can get all these details, all these resources on your email ID. Okay, and just one request that just in case any one of you do not get the good desired video quality, So please increase the video quality on your YouTube, right? So because it might can happen, you might can experience certain couple of glitches in viewing the slides. Please don't worry, and please increase the YouTube video quality. Just in case even that also does not help, then please just be patient, because eventually recording and slides both will be there and reach you out. Okay. All right. So let's get started. And as I told you, today's topic for the webinar is research design. Before I start, can anybody tell me that what is a research design? Please, if you can, type in the chat box, that'd be great. Research design, if you have any, I'm sure all of you must be viewing my slide as well. So if you can tell me what is research design. Okay, elements to do a research study. Okay, Mr. Suhas. Anybody else would like to give me a try? Okay, so please, guys, please keep trying, and please keep typing your answers. Now, let us first start that what is a research design? It's very important to understand, because what happened is that majority of the time we tend to, yes, plan of action, pathway to undertake, framework, very nice, very, very good. Everybody is doing the right try. See, basically, when we talk about research, let me take you in a chronological order. When you are all set to do research, be it in terms of your research paper, or be it in terms of your research thesis, even in it in is in your PhD. So the first thing foremost is what you need to do. Okay, that is on which one particular problem you'll start your research issue is that what we understand as a topic. Agreed? All right. Now, when we say that we have a topic, we know what to address, what problem, what gap we have identified from our literature review. So then what happen is that we get to explore it more. We do the literature review, okay, and then we identify the gap, what has previously been done on that particular topic, all that stuff. Okay, so by literature review we are sorted. We have a topic, we have a literature review. Now, since I said that we have identified a gap through our literature review, now how to address that gap? How to go about that gap? So then we come on to our research questions. What are the research questions which we would like to address, which we would like to sort it out? So these are our research questions about which we are looking for the answers. Now the question comes, when we have established our research questions or the objectives which needs to be sorted, how we are going to go about it, how these solutions for those questions to go about it. Now, that how the answer, how we will investigate, how we will go about the answers. I'm not going in qualitative aspect or quantitative aspect. I'm not going into that debate as of now. I'm just saying you have a topic, you have your gap with you, you have your research questions. Now, let's look for the answers of those questions, and that way of, or that plan, as many of you have said, that those strategies to look for the answers of those research questions is called as research design. Okay, so let's, you said that, okay, we want to go on vacation. Okay, now the point is, the research question is how to go on a vacation. Now, the answer to that how will brief you about your research design. How you are designing, or how you are deciding the direction of your research. Okay, now A research plan, basically, when you say that research design is a complete scheme, it's a complete aspect that which techniques you will use, which methodology you will use, what is your timeline as in how much time you have to distribute your questionnaire, in how much time you are assuming or you are expecting your questionnaire to come back, what kind of measurement tool you will use, what kind of analysis method you, all those things comes as an element of research design. Okay, so research design is that direction which let your research find out the requisite answers of your research questions, in which you go to writing hypothesis, and then you also go to what are your implications of data, how you are going to do the analysis of your data, how will you collect the data, who will be your respondent, why they are the respondent, how you are analyzing their data, the way you are communicating the findings, how you are presenting the data, you're using pie charts, graph, histograms, what all, everything will be a part of your research design. Okay, all right, now let's move on. When we talk about research design further, so basically, research design tells you that overall, what are the techniques and what are the research methods a researcher has used. Again, I'm saying, I'm not getting into the debate of qualitative or quantitative. I'm not saying that. Irrespective, you belong to social sciences, medicine, engineering. I'm not going to do that debate also. I'm just talking in general that whatever research methodology you take, whatever research methods you take, whatever ways you collect your data, all encompasses in your research design. Okay. Now let's look into some elements into your research design. Now, why looking into the elements is important? Because just in case you are in a process of writing a research paper, or you are about to begin a research paper, or even you have written a research paper, but you think that, couple of things I may was not able to look into that time. So I think with these elements, you'll be able to put in a lot of attention right now. Okay. Then first is whatever method you have used to collect the data. It can be interview, questionnaire, whatever, irrespective, whatever you have used, the mention about those elements is important. Then what kind of methodology you have used. Okay, what kind of various methods you have used, what are your purpose statement, what is exactly the purpose of your study, probable objections for research or probably the limitations part of the research, then what are the techniques which are there to be used for analyzing the research, then how you are going to measure the analysis, how you are going to do the analysis, what special settings you have done if you're doing, if let's say for example experimental research design you're going for, so in that you need to have certain experimental settings, lab settings, so what all settings you have done, so all that aspect, all those elements are an important consideration when you talk about the elements of research design. All right, then let's move on to functions of a research design. See, it may sound at this point in time theoretical to you, but when it comes to the understanding these function of research design, it becomes very important. Reason being, let's say for example, functions of a research design is to help you to understand that how will the study population be identified. Now, when at this point in time you must be thinking that what am I going to do with function of research design? You may not write these functions in your paper or in your thesis. However, the answers to all these functions will let you know that what all aspects I need to focus on my research design aspect. Okay, all right. So then how your population be identified, that what all people would be, or what all will be the population of your research. Then how you're going to collect the sample, what will be your sample size, how you're going to approach them. Okay. And when it comes to approaching the respondents, or when you are conducting research with any human objects, okay, in that you need to obtain their consent. So let's say, for example, you are distributing a questionnaire, so with that you need to have a consent of that also a part of one of the function of your research design. Okay. If you are talking about questionnaire, if you're sending the questionnaire, a physical questionnaire or email, through an email, how you are need to get the research, these questionnaire responses back, you know if you're conducting interviews, how your interviews are going to get conducted, all these things. Lastly but not the least is, how will the issues, ethical issues, be taken care of. Okay. Let me tell you, like what I have seen, what I have observed from my experience here in Dubai, that the final the final research, or the final aspects of research here, the Mr. Sahu, myself, Dr. Renu Mishra. Thank you so much for asking. Let me take you some couple of questions. Yeah, Neha Patak, yes, it's a blueprint of research. Isn't the finding the ways to the answer called research? See, Mr. Suhas, basically research methodology, yes, it's a plan about your research. So research design tells you the various aspect. In methodology, you might not take care of ethical issues or how the respondents will be contacted. However, when you're talking about research design encompasses all those aspects as well. Okay. Now I was discussing that being here in Dubai, I'm telling you this from this my experience, that um, the especially the Western universities, in even in India also, this consideration is being taking care a lot of. That is the ethical issues, the ethical aspect of the research. That if you are dealing with any human subject, human respondents are there, irrespective any science, any the field of study you are dealing with, how did you obtain the consent from the participants? Have you obtained any consent or not? Many university, they even ask you to show them, or the to give the proof that yes, uh, informed consent from the participants have been obtained. Whatever data collection tool you are using, okay, is it valid enough, it is reliable, and it is not misguiding the respondents. Okay. See, how what I meant by misguiding is, like, when you are conducting a research, so your items, let's say for example you're dealing with a questionnaire, so the items of the questionnaire, that is questions of the questionnaire, should not be misguiding the participants, should not be misleading the participants. You should not obtain any confidential information from the participants without their consent. And also the entire research is being conducted very ethically. So all these aspects which are not covered in methodology are also covered in research design. Okay, methodology is any which ways is covered, but beyond that also the certain aspects are being covered and being taken care of. Okay. Now, there is one very important theory, and we generally, understand it with the theory of as understand it as theory of causality, and we understand this theory with research design as well. Thank you, Mr. Suhas. Thank you so much. Okay, now let's understand what is theory of causality. Now, cause, the word is, I just give this tip to my every student, that whenever you are not able to understand any concept, if you think that this particular concept is not clear to me, okay, I'm not able to give any answer to this, and you are stuck in a situation. So, at that point in time, what you're supposed to do is just go by the literal meaning of that word. Just go by that. Okay, so whatever English meaning of that word is, just go by that. Okay, all right. Now, so coming back to theory of causality, so the name causality must be appearing that has been appeared from cause. So basically, causality, the concept causality is concerned with relationships where a change in one variable necessarily result in change in another variable. Again, I am not getting into the debate of independent variable or dependent variable. I'm not getting into that. So causality basically means that if one variable is changing, so another will automatically change. Okay, now before I move ahead, let me tell you about independent and independent variable, just in case everybody, any one of you does not have an understanding. Again, that tip, independent, which is not bothered about, yes, Sohas, yes, which is not basically bothered about any change in anything, independent. So even if any other aspect or any other variable is changing, so independent variable remains stable. However, when you're talking about dependent variable, so dependent means the name itself is saying that that is dependent on some other variable. Okay, so dependent variable undergoes the changes. Okay, now for instance, there are heavy rains because of which that there is heavy traffic on the road. Okay, I'm not saying that because of only heavy rains there is traffic. I'm just saying there's one variable which cause heavy traffic on the road is heavy rains. So heavy rains here is an independent variable, and which is causing the heavy traffics on the road, which is dependent variable. So heavy traffic is one way is dependent on the heavy rains. So if there is any change in the rain state or in the monsoon state, there will be a necessary change in the traffic on the roads. Okay, so causality basically tells the relationship between the variables. Now, Mr. Godfrey, I've just told the difference between research design and methodology. Okay, that methodology only is that plan which is related to your research, in terms where you are talking about data collection tool, sample size, and the sampling procedure as well. However, in research design, you are talking how you reach that population, how those respondents will be approached, how the ethical aspect of that research will be taken care of. So research methodology plus all these aspects together will give to research design. Okay, now in another word, if you want to understand theory of causality, so we can say that a person's value on y is caused by the person's value on x, or x causes y. Fine. So it's very simple, that how the change in one variable is causing a change is another variable. Okay. So basically, when you talk about causality, so there are three widely accepted preconditions. First is the variables are associated. Obviously, if there is no association in the variable, so even if the one variable is changing, there it will not impact any change, or it will not leave any change in another variable if there is no association. Okay, like for instance, heavy rains in India and traffic in US. There is no association between. Even if there is heavy rains in India, how does it matter in the road traffic in US? So there is no association. So there has to be association if there need to be causality needs to be established. Okay, second is variation in independent variable before variation in the dependent variable. So as we have understood that there is change in one variable which causes a change in another variable, so necessarily we are talking about independent and dependent. So if independent variable will change, then only the dependent variable will undergo any kind of change. Okay, then the third one is that independent variable precedes the dependent variable in variation. Similar thing, that whenever there is a change, whenever there is a variation, the independent variable will come first. So this is about the theory of causality, that how change in one variable becomes the cause of change in another variable. Okay, all right. Okay, so now let's look into the theory of causality and the research design, how they are related. All of you, please, if it's a weekend afternoon, so if any one of you would like to eat, drink, anything, please feel free. I'm sure you must be, but please feel free in this webinar. Okay, now let's talk about theory of causality and research design with the help of some examples. Okay, so there is a scenario where is there is a counseling service being given out, so which is an independent variable. Now counseling service needs to be given to certain people, certain population, and the dependent variable extent of marital problems. Okay, now there is a situation where there is a marital problems are there, and the counseling needs to be given. So counseling is to be given on the people who are undergoing the marital problems, so that their issues and concerns can be sorted out. Okay, so how or to what extent these marital problems will be sorted out depends upon the counseling service. Okay, now there is one word called extraneous variable. Can any one of you tell me what is extraneous variable? Anyone would like to attempt, would like to tell that what are extraneous variables? No one? Okay, see, there are certain variables which are beyond any control, and uh, basically they are not directly affecting, but yes, they are leaving an effect. Okay, so these are those variables which cannot be kept under control during the course of the research. Yes, not directly dependent on the topic. Yes, rightly so as. So they get experienced by the researcher during the course of the journey. So no researcher can state that these extraneous variable will come on the way of my journey. No, you can't state that. They comes on the way, as the way the research progressed. Okay, so here the situation is that whatever is the kind of counseling service is being given will decide that to what extent the marital problems will be sorted and it will be taken care of. So there are some extraneous variable, like for instance birth of a child. So if two people are going undergoing a marital problem already, and then they welcome a baby or they welcome a child, so it might get sorted, the issue can get sorted. Okay, and also pressure from friends and family, you to stay together, and you never know that there can be a pressure of to from the families and friends, and there cannot be a pressure from the family and friends. So these kind of variables, these kind of aspects cannot be controlled by the researcher during the course of the research. Okay, now this is one example. Now here, the theory of causality and research design says that, on the basis of this association between the variables, on the basis of the association, the research design is decided by the researcher, that whatever is the kind of association between the variables, whatever is the kind of influence of independent variable on the dependent variable, on the basis of that the research design is being decided. Okay, all right. Now, then is in any causal relationship, changes in the dependent variable may be attributed to three types. So when you are talking about there will be any change in the dependent variable, or there is any change in dependent variable, so in that case the change firstly would be of change because of the independent variable, that's we have discussed that how an independent variable can cause a change. Then change because of extraneous variable, that also we have seen that how the variables which are not in the control of a researcher can cause a change in the dependent variable. And change because of charge, I mean, it's there is a and always an uncertainty associated with the research itself, that how the research will go and how in which direction the research will go. Okay. All right. So here I'll take a 5 minutes break and then let's get back, since I think it's a lunchtime for you guys also. I'm here only. Let's take a quick break for 5. Get yourself something to eat, drink, and then let's get back to the session. Okay? In 5 minutes. Okay, so we are back. All right, Miss Davison, Mr. Davison. Yeah, there were no sound because we were on break. Okay, all right. So we were just understanding about causal relationships. So when we talk about causal relationships, so whatever is the kind of change in one variable reflects the changes in other variable. So basically, when you talk about changes, so generally dependent variable undergoes the change, it and it changes because of independent variable and extraneous variables, as we discussed, and change because of chance. Okay, so when we say change because of chance, because research as a course, or as a course, in the journey of the research, there are certain events, there are certain situations which cannot be in the control of a researcher. Because of that also, there are certain changes, certain, let's say for example, somebody is pursuing any research which is based on to understand through the governmental laws and regulations. So you just can't control, you need to amend certain changes in your research according to the changes which are of being, they're being given by the government. Okay, so according to this research, all these changes, the research design gets finalized, that what kind of association is there between independent. On the basis of that, the further research course of actions have been decided. All right. Okay, now let's take an example again, that the relationship between teaching model and comprehension, that how the various teaching model on the certain students, and the association between them is being understood. Okay, that how the level of comprehension, or how much the students understands when particular model of teaching model is being used. Now here, if you see that there are people, there are population, there are student population, there are teaching model, and there are, the like group B is being given model 1, group C model 2, group A model 3, and based on that there are level of comprehensions. However, there are certain factors which are beyond control. So these are the factors which basically uh, impacts the level of comprehension of students, like impacts the understanding of the students, how well they will, or how well not they will understand. And these factors like motivation, like how much the students wants to learn himself or herself, this is beyond researchers control. How well qualified and competent is the teacher himself or herself. So irrespective whatever the model has been used, if the teacher is not competent enough, if the student is not motivated enough, then the level of understanding would not be good or average. Okay, so these are the factors which basically uh, are beyond control of a researcher, and these factors also let the researcher depicts the kind of research design he or she is going to willing to adapt. Because then what are the changes happening in the dependent variable, because of these extraneous variable will also be taken care of. Okay, now, another example is the proportion attributable to the three components may varies. Okay. Now, change attributable to independent variables. So, we discussed that there is a change in the independent variable because of your independent variable. All right. So, when we see the overall change in the dependent variable, so if you see, this is the overall change. Okay, now in this we can understand that the majority of the change is happening in the dependent variable is because of the independent variable, that we understood. Okay, there are certain um, changes which are happening because of extraneous variable, and there are certain by chance. That's what we study in the type of change. Like I'll take you back, this basically this diagram. Okay, now if you see in the second scenario, there is the change in the dependent variable mostly because of the extraneous variable. than the independent variable. Okay, now in these two scenarios the research design will differ. Eventually the change in the dependent variable is still the same. Okay, it is there, there is the change in the dependent variable. However, the cause for that dependent variable will change the course of the research design. The change will be there by understanding that why this change is happening. Okay, so that's how theory of causality contributes towards, or there is an association with that of research design. Okay, now even we have gone through the extraneous variable. Let's just go through these extraneous variable once and how we can control them. Okay, now see why it is important to understand controlling extraneous variable, because they might can change the entire course of the research. Can anybody quickly tell me what are extraneous variable, since we have already discussed just a couple of minutes back? Can anybody tell me? Oh, even after me understanding all of you. Okay, no problem. Extraneous variables are those variables which, as I told you, which are beyond the control of a researcher, and basically they leaves an impression or they do impact the dependent variable. Okay, many a times what happen is your extraneous variable, the impact of those extraneous variable is so intense that the entire change in the dependent variable is because of these extraneous variables. Okay, so these are those variables which creates an impact or in impression or influence the findings of the study, but they are not independent variables and they are beyond the control of researcher. However, there are techniques, there are the ways with which we can control these. Now firstly is with the help of random sampling. Can anybody quickly tell me what is random sampling? Yes, you, which all of you, or everybody who has explained this extraneous variable, they're absolutely right. Quickly tell me what is random sampling. What is random sampling? I thought that you'd be knowing, many of you would be knowing what is random sampling. See, yeah, exactly, Miss Neha. I was just about to say that, and in the right moment, Neha replied that random sampling is a kind of probability sampling wherein every sample or every unit of the population has an equal chance of getting selected. Okay, anyone can, like, randomly, again, as I told you, you know, if you do not understand any concept, just apply the um, English technique, English meaning technique. Okay, so random sampling, the word is random in hidden in it. So just picking up randomly, we say that, you know, just pick up things randomly. So any out of the box, anything can come out. Similarly, for random sampling is any unit can be a part of your sample. Okay, now random sampling, with the help of random sampling, we may control it, we may, you know, eliminate couple of extraneous variable. However, not completely, but random sample will say that, you know, it will be equally distributed. For instance, um, let's say that, you know, we take an example again, that one, the teacher and the student one, the level of comprehension. So not necessarily that every student will have low motivation. Okay, because this was one of the extraneous variable. So every student need not to have the low motivation. Okay, so when we do random sampling, we may not come across all the kids of same motivational level which is low. We may will have, you know, a couple of students which who have low, but that will not leave any major impression on the finding. So this way you can use and to control the extraneous variables. Okay, now then comes your elimination through elimination or inclusion. So you can actually eliminate or include the extraneous variable. Control by eliminating means that you are removing all the likely extraneous variable by holding them constant. This happens when you are doing some experiments, some yes, very nice, very nicely explained by everybody, random sampling. So basically when you are doing some this controlling or elimination and inclusion technique, this happens when you are doing some lab experiments wherein your situations, or you tend to have experiments in the controlled setup. Okay, where you have the capacity to control, where you have the ability to establish a lab setup, so wherein you can control by eliminating or including the factors to be considered. Okay, all right. Now, for instance, suppose you want to study the impact of a health education program on the attitude towards and belief about the causation and the treatment of certain illness among non-Indigenous Australian and Indigenous Australian living in a particular community. So we are basically trying to understand what is the impact of a particular health education program on the attitude and belief. So here I'm just quickly doing one activity, that my independent variable is impact of health education program is my independent, and we want to study the impact on attitude and belief. So my attitude and beliefs are the dependent one. Just for the quick reference of yours, so that when you are going through certain you know uh, what do you say that activity or the research, how you are going to identify that what is my independent variable. Okay, so basically as attitude and belief may differentiate from culture to culture. Studying non-indigenous Australians and indigenous Australian will not provide an actual picture. Obviously, they will have different cultural background, they will have different attitude, they will have different beliefs. However, irrespective, their independent variable, that is health education program, remains the same. Okay, so in studies it is appropriate to eliminate the cultural variation. Okay, because you will have a difference in attitude and beliefs, because you are dealing with culturally differentiated population, indigenous and non-indigenous Australians. So there is no, because later on you will find out, try and understand. Okay, later on you will find out, uh, I can't follow any longer. Okay, Mr. Fred is there. Maybe it's okay, Mr. Fred, if you are joining, if you're not able to continue further, no problem. So, if let's say I'm telling you how to eliminate the extraneous variables. So, when the population, we know that they are culturally very different from each other. So, we know that irrespective, the health education program will remains the same. So attitude and belief might, or they will definitely will be showing the changes in the later half or in the later course of the research. So let's not take cultural aspect as the factor or as the aspect to study the population, because that we know that later on it will create the changes, or it will leaves an impression on the attitude and beliefs. This way you can you know eliminate the extraneous variable. Okay, now let's talk about the quantitative research design, or from here on we'll be talking about quantitative and qualitative research design. Okay, now when you talk about quantitative research, first of all, can anybody quickly tell me what is quantitative research? Quickly tell me what is quantitative research. This, Miss Chandni, this is random sampling. My question now has changed. Quantitative research. Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. And this is a very general explanation which all of you have given, and it's absolutely right. So basically, whenever we are using any numerical data, this is the most easy to comprehend kind of explanation for quantitative research. When we are dealing with any data which is mathematical in nature, which is quantified, that investigation is falling into the category of quantitative research. And for instance, there are projects like, you need to have a large sample size. That is another rule, that quantitative researchers have large sample size as compared to the qualitative one. Okay. And then you mainly focus on getting more and more responses. Okay, here you are not focusing on the focused response as what you do in qualitative. Like in qualitative, either you are understanding the um, reasons behind it, your opinion, your beliefs, your behavioral aspect. So the qualitative one gives you the questions of what and why, and the qualitative one gives you how and why. The basically the enhanced and detailed responses of the respondents gets into the picture when it comes to qualitative. So an example of quantitative research is the survey conducted to understand the amount of time a doctor takes to attend to a patient when the patient walks into the hospital. So basically, the research is about that, how much time a doctor is spending with each patient to treat him or her. That's into the consideration, and we need to see that how much time the patient is spending with the doctor or how much time the doctor is taking. So a patient satisfaction template can be administered, ask questions like how much time a doctor takes to see a patient, how often the patient walks into the hospital, or the question is how much time you need to wait to meet to your doctor, that the queuing time. Okay, all these aspects is basically will tell you the amount of time or a patient needs to be or needs to get attended by the doctor, or how much time a doctor is taking. Okay, so this is quantitative research. An example of quantitative research we have already discussed. Now, let's look into the study designs in quantitative research. So, if you are taking or if you are pursuing with quantitative research, so what kind of study designs you should have? Basically, some of the common study designs which can be classified as, basically, firstly, the number of contacts with the study population, how many, the number of contacts are there, the reference period of the study, how, what is the reference period, and the nature of the investigation. So basically, every study design which we have just seen has been categorized differently, very differently from each other. And basically, the names of these research design can be universally used. All right. Okay. So let's move on. So here is the three criterias, the three conditions on which the classification of the study design used in quantitative research is being categorized, like number of contacts, reference period, nature of investigation. So number of contact is 1, 2, or 3, retrospective, prospective, and so on. So let's take on one and one each one of them. Okay. Now, firstly is just follow this, just look at this diagram once more so that you can, so we are doing number of contact, reference, and then we are doing these categories. Okay. Now, the first one is the cross-sectional study design. Basically, it's one of the simplest one, and you need to know firstly what you need to find out, what will be your study population, and you need to select your sample and contact your respondents. Simple. Your research questions, your population, your sample, and what you need to find out. Okay. Now, for example, that attitude of study population towards uranium mining in Australia, that how the people out there are reacting towards uranium mining in Australia, or the relationship between the home environment and the academic performance of a child in school, that how home environment of a child is influencing or is impacting the performance of a child at school. Okay. Anybody else also would like to give me some idea about cross sectional study? Please feel free. I'm waiting for the responses. There is some technical glitch since this morning. That's why I'm starting off. Yeah, tell me. Anybody else would like to contribute anything about cross sectional? Mr. Sahu, I just explained what are cross sectional studies. Okay, you just need to contact your respondent. You need to have your questions in hand, you need to know the research population, and you need to select a sample size. Okay, now when you talk about the before and after study design, so basically it is also known as pre and post test design. Now again, do not get confused too much. You need to have an idea about how the English meaning of this terminologies goes, like before and after study design. So pre-test, that is the study pre-test, and post-test, that is after the study. Okay, it can measure change in situation, phenomena, issue, problem, or attitude. That what was the situation before anything happened, and what was the situation after that thing has happened. Okay, so now if any one of you is going for any training oriented study or any research wherein you are trying to measure the effectiveness of a training, where you are trying to understand the effectiveness of an intervention, if you're trying to understand that how if there is anybody from engineering or medical background, science background, that how a particular experiment will lead to the situation changes pre and post. So all these kind of studies basically can be falling into the category of before and after study design. So it can be described as two sets. So in cross sectional there was one set, in before and after there are two sets. When you're working on the same population, firstly you are understanding before the test happened, and then you are understanding after the test happens. Okay. Okay, now this is the before and after study design. So you have the study population. What was the observation before the test? What was the observation after the test? And what is the interventions happen? So you can very well use it when, let's say, you are understanding any strategy or any motivational tool or training tool being employed by the organization, that how the employee turnover, employee motivation is has improved before and after. Okay, all right. Now let's talk about the longitudinal study design. So basically, in longitudinal studies design, you visit the respondent over a longer period of time. You visit the sample or the population over a longer period of time. Somebody said cross sectional as a longer period of time. That's not that. It's a longer period of time which data is collected is for longitudinal. Okay. Now, when you talk about longitudinal, again there is a tip associated with this longitudinal study design, as the name suggests, long. Okay, so when you are basically approaching the same population again and again, and maybe you are going back to those people, or in a week's time or in a year's time, so you are studying the respondents over a period of time, same respondents over a period of time, longer period of time. So you are collecting data at this stage, this stage, this stage, this stage. However, a regular interval of period of time is there. This may be as short as week, or this may go beyond a week as well. Okay. Now, then was study designs based on your reference period. So basically, when you talk about reference period, it is primarily the time frame in which the study is exploring the phenomena or any situation or any event. Okay, so when you categorize research design based on the reference period, there is one retrospective, prospective, retrospective and prospective. Okay, so let's first talk about retrospective study design. So when you talk about retrospective study designs, they talk about or they research about your what is the situation, what is the problem, which has happened, which has already happened. Okay, so what when you are talking about such designs, here you are basically analyzing the data which is available to you. Okay, which is available to you, which has happened to you. Let's say for example anyone amongst you decided to go for any study where you want to understand any particular evolution. Okay, like if somebody is doing in literature, so they wanted to study the Mughal era, that how they invade India, and how everything happened, and what are their successes or what are their failures, everything. So basically that situation wherein you are particularly concerned about a particular topic to be studied. Okay, for instance, the utilization of land before Second World War in Western Australia. So before, how the people of Australia were actually using the land before the Second World War happened. Okay, also the relationship between levels of unemployment and street crime. So how the situation of unemployment here is impacting, or how it has impacted the crime in the city during that time when there was high unemployment. Okay, all right. Okay, now we'll be talk about prospective study design. So basically, prospective study design, it refers to the likely prevalence of a phenomena, situation, event, or outcome. So this kind of study, they go according to the particular phenomena, or how it will happen in the future. The previous one, they've talked about the past. This is talking about the future. Okay, so here in this study, when you're talking about the future, you are primarily concerned about the outcome. You are primarily concerned about the results which are going to happen because of that event. Okay, so, when you talk about prospective designs, experiments are usually classified as prospective studies, as the researcher must wait for intervention to register its effect. So, here basically you are trying to understand a situation problem, that this happened because of this happened as of now. Okay, as of now or in the future. So, for that, you need to be there. Okay, for example, the effect to establish the effect of a counseling service on the extent of marital problems, which we discussed, or effect of change in the migration policy on the effect of migration policy. So this is going to happen right now, or what will happen if the migration law will change, how migration will be affected. Okay, all these aspects comes into prospective study design when you are trying to study this. Now coming to the retrospective prospective study design. So basically when you talk about sorry, so retrospective prospective design, so these kind of study, they focuses on past tense in a phenomenon and study it in the future, like what happened in the past and what will happen in the future. So all that comes into the uh, what do you say that both the combination of past and present. So retrospective was about past, prospective about future, and retrospective perspective is about past and future. Prospectus is about present to future. Okay, now somebody said that prospective, then present and future, it is about how the present intervention will lead to a particular outcome. Okay, all right. So let's move on. Now we'll be talking about study designs which are based on investigation. Reference period we have done. Now it is about the nature of investigation. So what is the kind of your nature of investigation? Now there are basically three kind of study design: non-experimental, quasi-experimental, and experimental. So non-experimental means when it measures the outcome before and after program for participants only. So basically, what happens before and after the experiment. Quasi-experimental, please, measure outcome for program participants and non-program participants without random assignment. Okay, so there is both kind of respondents are there. When you have mm, the programmed one and the non-programmed one. Experimental study designs are basically when randomized participants to they are used for treatment or control one. Okay, random, you are choosing anyone. So both the ones are being used at one point in of time with the given study design. Okay, now let's have a look on what are the various kind of study designs in qualitative research. Okay, now when you talk about qualitative research, so there are a couple of them, like for instance, a case study, history of it, focus group, participant observation, holistic research, community discussion forums, reflective journal blogs, and so on. Let's say for example, like observation. So here the respondent, or here the researcher is making a note of all that what is happening in front of him, or he either can be participative in the observation, or he just can just note down his observation, the facts which he is observing. While for instance, if a researcher wants to understand any behavioral aspect of the employees, he would like to understand that how genuinely the people of a particular organization they enjoy their work. So he can go for observation method, where um, the what do you call as the researcher is not as the participant of the what do you call as the study itself. Isn't the nature, yes, Suhas, I told you no, that to everybody we discussed the qualitative and quantitative research type. Now what you are saying is, yes, nature of, now for that study which is qualitative in nature, what would be your study designs? How will you go about it? Now you know that, okay, my study is qualitative in nature. Now what after that? After that is, what is your research designs? Okay, after that is what you are, what your research designs are, how you are going to go ahead. Now if you are doing a, if you wanted to go for a participate observation, how you would like to make sure that I I as a researcher would not hamper the setting of my participants or the respondents, or even if I am becoming um, or becoming a part of my observation, I'll be one amongst my respondents. I'll moderate the session, or I'll just tell them what to what is the questions in my research, but my answers would not be biased. Okay, all these things you will be deciding in the study design. Okay, all right. Now let's talk about some other commonly used study designs. Like for example, other commonly used study designs are philosophy guided designs. In that, action research first is your action research. So basically research is about dwelling deep, is about when you interrogate, when you go about searching, researching, when you are trying to find out what are the reasons why it has happened. So how you can improve what I am doing it. So basically in action research, you are trying to identify the certain actions. So sorry, the slides changed. You are trying to identify certain actions which will improve the course of your study, which will improve, these actions will improve the your entire research. So here most action research is concerned with improving the quality of service. Like for example, if you are trying to conduct a study on employee motivation, okay, or change management, okay, so there are a couple of action research discussions which has happened. So action research model tells you, or action research tells you certain steps to be taken so that the present problem can be dealt with and can be sorted out with. It's okay. All right, so it is basically the guided actions which are being told by the researcher. All right. Okay. Now Another research is feminist research. So basically, feminist research is characterized by its feminist theory, philosophical base that underpins all inquiries and feminist concerns, which act as a guiding framework. Now, how it differs from a traditional research, mainly the focus is on experience and viewpoints of women. As the name itself suggests, as I told you, the name itself suggests that mainly the focus is on women, and what are their viewpoints, what are their experiences, and um, this kind of research they try to focus that how the imbalance between the researcher and the respondents can be reduced, and the goal of feminist research is to change the social inequality. So let's say, for example, if you are working on certain kind of researches wherein you are talking about gender inequality, you are finding the ways out wherein the the status of the women can be improved in the organization or in the society, so then you are following the feminist research design. Okay. Now, there are some couple of differences between the qualitative and quantitative research designs. Like in the quantitative research, you are talking about the putting ideas in hypothesis, and in qualitative design, you are talking about ideas in detail, and then you develop your hypothesis. Okay. In one, you use the statistical analysis. In another, you summarize, identify patterns, identify themes, and then you conduct the analysis. In quantitative, as you all know, we use numbers, graphs, and in qualitative, you use the representation with the words. Basically, you identify the repeated themes. Let's say, for example, you have conducted some interviews. Okay, so we you are you have conducted certain interviews, you are talking to respondents. So in that research, what you will do, you will try to identify that what all are the repeated patterns, what all are the repeated words which are being said by the respondents or more than one respondents. Okay, then you identify the themes and the patterns. Then in quantitative, you need to have the large sample size. In qualitative, sample size can be you can afford to have a small sample size. And then generally in quantitative research, you have a closed questions wherein you do not give option to the respondents to express themselves, which is the case in the qualitative research. And here the key terms primarily in quantitative research are testing, objectivity, replicability, and in qualitative research, it is understanding and context. So basically, when you are detailing your responses, you are giving a chance to the respondent to detail their respondents, you're going for qualitative, and vice versa is for quantitative. Okay. Now that was from my side, and now we are there to discuss. Mr. Srinivas, actually, why we do not call it as a gender based? Because here we are talking about one particular gender. We are not considering about the other ones. So but that's why we particularly say that, because the researches are basically feminist in nature or feministic in nature. That's why the name is feminist research. Yeah. Anybody else for the questions? See, any one of you, if you have any doubts for the topic selection, also your research strategies, also even your statistical analysis, your paper writing, you can approach research graduate for the same. You can, you know, mm, uh, take the services of research graduate, and I think we'll be happy to help you. Thank you, Mr. Srinivas. So, is there any questions which we can, or if there any, discussion which you would like to discuss with us, please feel free. You need to see when you are doing a quantitative analysis. You not need not to have hypothesis all the time, but you have if you have hypothesis, you need to test them. You need to select that what you'll go for alternative or you'll go for null hypothesis. You need to test them. Please put in your comments also, or your what you would like to share with us. Please feel free. It's not only about the question and answer, and you can share your learnings also. I think, Miss Abel, you got your answer. It's not necessary to always to have a hypothesis, but if you have, you need to test it. Majority, when you are doing some experimental kind of studies, then you go for the hypothesis. Can you suggest to study the impact of money? See, I'll tell you, when you're talking about prospective, understand like this. We always use the word future prospects, right? So associate it when we are trying to understand that what will be the outcomes if this particular, let's say, technology will be used. Okay. When we are talking about retrospective, I'll give you a tip, right? Retro, when we are saying retro look, people what used to wear in the past. So past, what was the impact in the past, what happened. Like for example, if anybody is conducting any study on COVID, right? So if new vaccines are being developed, what will be the impact in the future? What is the impact of the previously developed vaccines, right? When you are doing retrospective, prospective, it's a combination, like how the vaccines has performed in the past and how the improved vaccine is going to perform in the future. Okay, so this is what. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Yes, yes, Mr. Manish. Yes, yes, absolutely right. See, Mr. Abel, basically what you do, your research questions are those questions which you are trying to answer in your entire research. Okay, based on that, you devise your objectives and your hypothesis. So you do not test your questions, you test your hypothesis and you answer your research questions. Okay, so when you test your hypothesis, you are in a way providing an answer to your research questions also. Thank you, Mr. Sahu. I'm taking it as a compliment. If you are saying my English speaking style is simple, I'm taking it as a compliment. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. All those comments which are visible to me. Thank you so much, Salman. Thank you so much. Whatever analysis, whatever webinars will be uh, mm, conducted, will be telling it to you. Mr. Srinivas, actually, there are a couple of engagements of mine also. That's why there are certain changes in the time because I also keep sometimes occupied. However, we'll consider the time request, but I need to see my schedule as well. But we'll be taking care of the time request. We'll be taking care of time request. I just can't, I'll just have to see my my schedule, that how we can go ahead. All right, I'll try. We'll do it. We'll try. Okay, all right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm not able to probably some of my network glitches there, as I'm not able to see some questions. Probably they are appearing blanks to me. Maybe some mm, technical glitches there. Uh, yeah, somebody has said research design. See, basically, as we discussed, Mr. Tapas, as we discussed that when you talk about research design, it's a overall overall aspect. When you talk about research approach, it tells you about your tools, your analysis techniques, and your procedures. Okay. However, when you talk about research design, it tells you the overall discussion. Okay. uh Basically, Mr. Satavir, if you're saying that if you know, if you have done your literature review well, if you know and if you understand your variables quite well, if you have identified the gaps well, your questions well, then you will see that there is a link between everything. You just can't see at research methodology whether I'm progressing right or wrong. You need to see right from the literature that what, on the basis of literature, what kind of variables I have identified, what is the gap, is there any link between these gaps and these variables or not, and then you move ahead. So I'm sure if there is any link between all these things, I'm sure you're progressing right. Yes, yes, Mr. Suhas, yes. We will be. Yes, Mr. Suhas, I answered you. Yes, yes, isn't it? Yes, it is. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. How to analyze articles? We did it, Miss Selma. We did it in the past. That how we can evaluate literature review and how we to go about research article and the review article. Uh, um, we did it in the past. However, we'll try to put it again. Okay, we'll put it again. I don't know whether this YouTube is giving trouble or internet is giving a trouble. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, now the questions are coming to me. Mr. Sahu, looking at a graphical picture, how basically if when you are when you are going for chi-square test, you can go for the bar charts and then you can analyze the differences between the particular category. If you are going for the chi-square analysis and you want to use some pictorial graphs, then you can go for the y graphs. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, ma'am, if you have to check the impact of education on human development, then which research design should be used? See, if like for example, impact of education in human development. Now, this is basically, it can be retrospective and prospective, in my opinion. That if you want to study that, since education has you know is there, that how the evolution of human has taken place or how the development of human taken place. If you just want to stick yourself that what role have been given or have been contributed by education, then retrospective. But if you want to go for, in my opinion, you should go for the future outcomes also, then retrospective prospective one you can go for. We did, Miss Janash, study designing qualitative. We did about case study. We did about observation. See, I can't tell you which is the best method to go. Depends upon what is the nature of your study and what kind of study you are doing. What are the variables you are trying to understand and what exactly you are trying to identify. Then, we will, Mr. Naveen. We will try to organize one. Sure, Micheline, sure. You will be getting your certificates, PPT, and you will be getting. You will be getting. It's okay even if any one of you have registered, and if you are not able to, join it in the starting of the webinar, you may take you may join late, but you may take the recording. But please make sure to join. Okay, make sure to join. Okay, next question is Mr. Quantitative survey design. You will go for quantitative research design. You will go for Mr. Ashok. Yeah, it will be delivered to you. It will be. It will be. Thank you so much. You can contact to me on research graduate details only. Thank you so much, Mr. Sahu, for this. If there are two groups, A and B, if A is controlled for B and B is controlled for A, what is the name of this design? Basically, what you are saying is that both they have both the variables are impacting on each other. Okay, so here when there is a situation when one is causing change in another one, and there are kind of correlation in between that, then you can say that the positive correlation is found out between both of them. Okay, positive correlation is there in between both, so which will fall into the quantitative one. Okay, technical research basically, Mr. Ranjan, is more of your conceptual type. When you are talking about the technical aspect, when you are focusing on particularly, for example, any particular concept you are detailing about, you are talking about the outcomes of it. And non-technical, like it can be the general review, it can be the general literature paper. That can be technical papers are more of focused on one particular aspect. Okay. All right, everything will be given, everything will be shared with you, everything will be shared with you. Sure, 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 sure. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. It was nice interaction with all of you. Thank you so much. And and it is absolutely a pleasure that rather than avoiding it, you all managed to come here. Reason being, it's a Saturday afternoon, and thank you, ma'am. Is it possible to take research webinar to our third year BSc nursing class students for the next year first month? Sure, sure, Miss Sunny. Sure, we can collaborate on that too. No problem, no problem, no problem. We can. You can get in touch with the number which is being showed with you on the screen, and you can get in touch with us. We can plan something. No problem about it. I'll be glad to get in touch with all of you. Yeah. Um, it may be, Mr. Suhas, it may be a combination of both too. However, to make it simplified, I would suggest to go for one. But if you're trying to invent something new, you may go for probably you may go for a new one also. However, make sure it is simplified one. Sure, 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 Cindy, you can get in touch. Do stage of technical research you're not yes, at times you see, because Mr. Ranjan, when you are um, talking about a technical research paper, you may you are focusing on one particular aspect, so your orient towards looking for literature or towards the research methodology depends upon how intense or how dwell deep you want to go into the topic. Okay, so it may, yes, the structure it may varies. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. It was lovely interacting with all of you. I hope it the webinar helped you. And if anyone of you would like to take the Research Graduate Association for their research paper or for the thesis, you are basically more than welcome. More than welcome. See, Mr. Suhas, basically, when you are talking about, I'll just tell you one thing. When you can contact me, Mr. Naveen, on the research graduate email ID, which we have discussed with you. Okay. Now, Mr. Suhas, let's talk about first novel research method. Basically, when you are talking about novel research method, I'm sure you must be having an idea that we are emphasizing on developing new research methods, or we are trying to develop something new, wherein we can sort out the problems which are currently there. Okay, it may be based or it is based on the old theories also. However, we are visualizing those. Research methods with a perspective which is prevailing today, with an aim to solve today. So you need to have new techniques. So for that, when you are developing something new, you, as you said, so it is, so is it quantitative? It may be quantitative. However, let's say you are dealing with something which is more human behavioral in nature, which is more complex in nature, then you may go for the qualitative one as well. Depends upon that what kind of research method you are devising, what is the aim of for you to devise the research methods. Okay. Yes, e-certificate will be given to you. E-certificate will be given to you. Let's say, Mr. Suhas, you are trying to understand, or you're trying to develop some new methods to understand uh, intent to buy, consumer behavior, our attitude. That will fall into quantitative. But if you are trying to understand human perception, behavioral orientation, that will fall into the category of the qualitative. Depends upon what kind of research methods you are trying to devise. However, yes, the basis remains the old theory as well. Only. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. It's a lovely interacting with all of you, and it was very warm interaction, and it was I thoroughly enjoyed. Yes, it involves why, reason being, Mr. Swaz, you, because you are trying to sort out the present. Problems. Like, for example, if we talk about Lewin's change model, it's a very old theory. It is very widely discussed also. However, it cannot be implemented as it is today. The situations had gone way too complex these days to implement the Lewin's model as it is the way it was. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Srinivas. I really can't decode this language. Yeah, really can't decode this language. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Don't worry, Mr. Naveen. I'll show it to you. However, it is, it is given in the recording as well. Okay. So I'll just quickly share for your reference the email ID. So on screen, you can get in touch with the email ID and with the number also, which is given to you. So thank you so much, everyone. That's my pleasure. So this is the email ID on which you can get in touch, and you can drop in a WhatsApp message also. No, that's not a problem. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. So need not to worry about the certificates and the recordings. It will be given to you on your registered email ID, and it will be shared with you, and the recordings also, and the PPTs also. Okay, the PPT also would be given to you. My pleasure, my pleasure, Dr. Deepa. My pleasure, Mr. Dubey. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Is there any, if there is any concern related to your research doubts, you can drop into this the displayed email ID in front of you, and we'll get back to you. Okay, okay. You can email it to the mentioned email ID, Mr. Sahu. You can do that. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. And next time, we'll try to talk about the on the respective topics which we have said, and timing also will be taken care of. However, it's just that I need to schedule it according to my schedule as well. But I will try to take care of the things in the next class. All right. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. So basically, the purpose of these webinars is to not to make, not to complicate the things, is to rather, if you have noticed, that we keep the content simple and we keep the structure also simple. So, so that you all can, because you all have from different. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Mr. Sumod. Uh, we it's a point to just to keep it simple, reason being because we all are from different domain, we all are from different areas, so we cannot afford to go very specific to any way. सर्टिफिकेट कैसे मिलेगा? सर्टिफिकेट आपको आपके रजिस्टर्ड ईमेल आईडी पे मिलेगा, आपको रजिस्टर्ड ईमेल आईडी पे मिलेगा या Okay, Mr. Ranjan, you have a question. Ma'am, can you briefly explain the stages followed after research paper writing is done? Okay, see, your research paper is done. You according to you, you have written the research paper, that is complete. Now you need to understand that what is the purpose of for you to research paper. Generally, we go for the most common purpose for us, all of us, is to publish the paper. Now, on this also, we have conducted a webinar in the past. However, I'll sort out the query that when you are done writing a research paper, so then if you are aiming a particular journal, let's say you are aiming any XYZ journal, so my suggestion is that if you know the journal that I would like to publish this paper for this particular journal only, then follow the guidelines for the author since the starting only. However, if you decide later that I need to get my paper published in this particular journal, then align the structure of your paper according to that. Okay, then do a proper proofreading before that, proper editing, no grammatical error, no structural error, referencing is to be done properly, in-text citations, in-text citations, everything needs to be done. There's no change in the font size, that somewhere it is Times Roman and somewhere it is Arial, no, not like that, a uniform structure. Then structure the paper according to this journal guideline, and then send it to the editor with a cover letter that my paper is this and this is this, findings are this, and I would like to get my paper published in so and so your journal. Okay, then you need to go ahead like this. And if you are aiming for a conference, and then for the conference, they ask for your abstract. They don't see straight away ask for your research paper, they ask for your abstract. Then they ask for generally they ask for abstract first, then later paper, and then you can go ahead with the presentation which they have for the conferences, and then they ask for your paper. So for conference also, they give you the author's guideline, prepare your paper accordingly, structure your paper accordingly, and then you may go ahead and submit your paper. Thank you, Miss Leen. Thank you. So that's the stages basically. See, majority of the journey you have already done, Mr. Ranjan. If you say that, you've already written a research paper. So majority of the homework is already done. That is to write a paper. Now the task is to get it published. I know because it's a very difficult to go ahead with, but if you are following proper structural guidelines and diligently you are doing them, then you may go ahead, follow the structural guidelines which are given by the journal. In that, sometimes what happen is you may need to change some structure of the paper, you may need to add something, you may need to delete something. So that's why I always suggest that if you have any journal in your mind right from the beginning, you're writing a paper, then follow the guidelines accordingly. Then your after work which you might have to do later, that the journal is asking for this requirement, journal is asking for that, that will be reduced. Okay, that will be reduced, and that ways you will not duplicate the work. Okay, thank you, Micheline, thank you so much. And whenever the next webinar would be there, we'll let you know for sure. Obviously you'll all will be there to um sort out your queries, and it will be indeed a pleasure to get in touch with all of you. Thank you so much. Let me just see for the certificates and for the recording. No, and none of you needs to be worried about, and you will be delivered with your certificates and the registered and the recording, provided your registered email ID is the one on which you receive or your general work, and your majority of the work. So make sure that your email ID which is being given by you is the right one. Okay, just make sure that the email ID is the right one. Thank you, everyone. Whosoever is, may I know who all are doing PhD in the audiences? Who all are, even in irrespective whatever stage of your PhD you guys are, but who all are doing PhD? Oh, you are interested in doing PhD. Very nice, Sini. Very nice. Very nice. Very good. Very good. Applying. Very good. Very good. Very good. Very, very nice. Writing work in progress. Very good. Very good. Mass communication. Very good. I think a very quite. Very good. Very good. Just started. I think soon you'll be able to finish it quickly. Oh, very nice, Mr. Abel. I'm also a PhD in human resource management. Yeah. Almost complete. Soon you'll be complete. No problem. No problem. Okay, okay. PhD in, oh my God, yogic science is very nice, very nice. One of my very close friends is also have done PhD from yogic science, and I hope the Mr. Satyavi must be knowing the universities in Haridwar. So yeah, that one 5G communication, very nice. Future, about future you're talking about. Oh, great, great, Mr. Manish. So I think we have a lot of PhD scholars as well. Yeah, so it's very good that you guys engage yourself in attending these kind of webinars, because along with the kind of work which we do, um, these webinars, workshops, they're always very useful. Mr. Manish, you're again dealing with the future, big data. Yes, Mr. Abel, you may consult. You may consult. You please feel free to do that. Please go ahead. Yeah, because big data, 5G communication, they are the future. Basically, who those who do not know big data, basically big data is a term which is given to the scenario, because when these days organizations have a lot of information, a lot of data to deal with. So big data is, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Manish, that big data is a term given to that entire data of the organization. It's too much, that's why in very layman I'm making you all understand that if if you are giving to a term given to all the data of the organization, it is the big data. Thank you so much, Mr. Satyaveer. It's my honor, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much, Micheline. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so Mr. Naveen, you have joined PhD, and it's very nice that all of you are doing PhD, and irrespective whatever stages of your career you are. Very nice English literature. Mr. Manish, correct me if I'm wrong what I said about big data. I might be wrong, but this is what I know about it. That when you want to represent in the entire data of the organization, this is big data, and it is the future. It is the future because organizations are generally, when you talk about in the past, the data, the information, the people were not much reliant on them. Nowadays, it is running like blood in organizations. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Satri. Thank you. Thank you. It's a big, big, big pleasure. Okay, Mr. Srinivas is saying, if possible, please arrange a webinar on testing tools on OVA. Sure, 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 sure. We'll be doing it. We'll be doing it. Okay, yes, great, great, Miss Manju. I've done MNC in nursing and pursuing PhD. Very nice, very, very nice, very, very nice. It's very nice to see a majority of you are pursuing your PhD, and lot of PhD scholar under one roof is a great vision to capture. Yeah, see, Dr. Piyush, when you talk about abstract is a general snapshot of your research paper, entire paper. And that has to be, generally it is in 500 words, but that depends upon which journal you are sending. So they give you the word count also. So it revolves around 500 to 700 words. It's the entire snapshot of your paper, like what is your paper about, what are your findings, and what are your research method. Just one or two line about each thing. That's it's abstract. Yes, Mr. Manish, yes, 50 definition for 50 people. Absolutely right. Yeah, true. See, research gap is that area or that issue, that concern which has not been taken care in the past in the literature. Like for example, somebody is talking about you are doing in nursing. Okay, so nursing job is quite hectic. A lot of psychological stress is there. People have talked about lot of psychological stress on nursing, but because of that psychological stress, how you are getting disturbed on your work and how you're not able to focus on your work, that area has not been never been talked about. That's a gap. So any area which has not been talked about, so that you understand when you do your literature review. So while doing literature review, you understand, okay, fine, this particular aspect could have been explored, could have been done. That's one. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Anjani. Thank you. Time pursuing page. That's great. That's great, Mr. Sahai. I mean, it's quite an inspiration for many. It's many. I think in front of all of you PhD scholars, I find myself quite old that because it's been 4 5 years. My PhD has been finished now, and but it's quite a pleasure to see a lot of PhD scholars under on one platform, and it's thanks to technology that we all are located in different parts of the world, but still we are able to interact with each other. Really, it's awesome, Mr. Sahai. Very nice, very nice. Thank you, Renika. Thank you so much. So, with this note, we call for this session today, and we will look for the we look forward for the next webinar, and the details for all of those webinars will be delivered to you on your respective email IDs. And all those who wants to get in touch with Research Graduate and me, the details are there on your screen. You can feel free to do so. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.